What if a message from the stars wasn't a radio wave, but a silent flash of light speaking the oldest language in the universe? On October 13, 2025, an interstellar object, thought to be long gone, sent a signal that defied all known physics. It wasn't random noise. It was a mathematical pattern, the same one that shapes galaxies and life itself, detected by two observatories on opposite sides of the Earth at the exact same moment. Let's explore this together.
The night of pulses.
Did the sky blink, or did something blink back? On the night of October 13, 2025, a stunning event unfolded. Two observatories, one in Chile and one in India, registered a bizarre series of light bursts originating from behind the sun. The source's trajectory matched that of 3IATLAS, an interstellar visitor that had vanished from view weeks earlier. This wasn't just a random flicker, the pulses were rhythmic and structured. The event immediately brought to mind the work of Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb, who has argued that we must be open to the possibility of extraterrestrial technology. Loeb even proposed a scale where 0 is a purely natural object and higher values suggest artificial origins. The behavior of 3IATLAS was so precise it would have scored high on that scale. The flashes were faint but distinct, organized into three groups with mathematically significant intervals. At a magnitude of +22, these pulses were at the very edge of what even powerful observatories can detect, requiring long exposure imaging to even register. For such a weak signal to be so clearly structured with a high signal-to-noise ratio was extraordinary, suggesting its origin was something other than chaotic natural processes.
Fibonacci sequence.
Is there a language any intelligence in the universe would understand? The answer is mathematics, and the pulses from 3IATLAS used one of its most elegant dialects. The intervals between the bursts were precisely 5, 8, and 13 seconds. This isn't a random set of numbers, it's a core section of the Fibonacci sequence. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, the famous pattern where each number is the sum of the two preceding it. First introduced to the Western world by the Italian mathematician Leonardo of Pisa in his 1202 book Liber Abaci, this sequence is nature's architectural blueprint. It appears in the spiral arms of the M51 Whirlpool galaxy and governs the principle of phyllotaxis, the arrangement of leaves on a plant stem, which often follows Fibonacci ratios to maximize sun exposure. The 19th century mathematician Edward Lucas, who gave the sequence its modern name, studied its properties extensively. The use of this sequence suggests a message designed to be universally recognizable as non-random and biological or structural in nature. For an interstellar object to emit signals matching this pattern was profoundly strange. It was as if it was broadcasting a page from the universe's own design manual.
Double confirmation.
How do you turn a strange anomaly into hard data? You need independent confirmation, and that's exactly what made the 3IATLAS event impossible to dismiss. The Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory in Chile and the Mount Abu Infrared Observatory in India, separated by nearly 12,500 kilometers, both recorded the identical pulse sequence. The recordings occurred within the same 1-minute window, starting at 2:41 UTC. This is critical. They used entirely different instruments, one optical, one infrared, and operated on separate tracking systems. The photometric sensors at Cerro Tololo captured the peaks at 2:41:13, 2:41:18, and 2:41:31 UTC. Mirrored spikes appeared in Mount Abu's infrared data with a synchronization of 0.04 seconds. Frank Drake, creator of the famous Drake equation, always emphasized that signal verification is paramount. Potential false positives like atmospheric scintillation, satellite glints, or cosmic ray hits on the CCD sensors were systematically ruled out. The statistical odds of two observatories experiencing an identical complex instrumental error were calculated to be less than 1 in 10 billion. This double detection transformed the event from a potential glitch into a verified phenomenon.
The golden ratio.
What if the message was not just in the timing, but in the light itself? The Fibonacci sequence is directly linked to another fundamental constant, the golden ratio, an irrational number that's approximately equal to 1.618, also known as phi. Back in the 17th century, the astronomer Johannes Kepler marveled at these divine proportions, believing they revealed the universe's geometric harmony. Now, analysis of the 3I/Atlas pulses showed its light wasn't just blinking. Its peak brightness actually scaled with each pulse. The intensity of the second pulse was roughly 1.6 times that of the first, and the third scaled similarly, matching the progression of phi. The physicist Roger Penrose has shown this ratio appears in fundamental physics and the geometry of space-time. To produce such a signal would require a mechanism capable of precise energy modulation, which is, honestly, far beyond random reflections off an asteroid. The energy distribution of the pulses also matched a logarithmic spiral, a form found everywhere from nautilus shells to the arms of hurricanes. This precise scaling across distance, frequency, and intensity simply could not be a random reflection. It had to be intentionally modulated.
The Fatima anniversary.
Could the timing of the signal be as significant as the signal itself? The pulses were detected on October 13, 2025. That date, interestingly, marked the 108th anniversary of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, Portugal. On October 13, 1917, a crowd estimated between 30,000 and 100,000 people claimed to witness the sun dance, spin, and emit brilliant colors. The physicist August Meessen of the Catholic University of Leuven proposed a scientific hypothesis for the event, suggesting a rare solar mirage amplified by retinal distortion. Regardless of the cause, the event is etched in cultural memory. The Condon Report of 1968, which studied UFO phenomena, noted that such mass sightings often have conventional explanations, but the cultural impact remains powerful. The parallel is, really, undeniable. On the exact same day, over a century apart, two events occurred involving a celestial body performing impossible light maneuvers. This bizarre historical echo transformed a scientific mystery into something deeply symbolic, linking a modern signal to a century-old miracle, and forcing even skeptical minds to acknowledge the depth of the coincidence.
NASA's blackout.
When the most powerful eyes on the sky suddenly go dark, you have to ask why. Just hours before the 3I/Atlas pulses were detected, NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory, or SDO, went offline for scheduled maintenance. The SDO is a workhorse, capturing an image of the sun every 12 seconds, across 10 different wavelengths, and generating nearly 1.5 terabytes of data daily. For it to go dark during such a critical window is, honestly, highly suspicious. Compounding this, the high-rise camera on the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, which can resolve objects down to 30 centimeters on Mars, had been inactive since October 1st. Nicola Fox, the head of NASA's Heliophysics division, oversees these missions. The official explanation cited routine calibration overlaps, but for two premier systems to be down simultaneously felt, to many, too convenient. The SDO's atmospheric imaging assembly, in particular, would have been the perfect instrument to confirm or debunk the pulses directly. Its absence created an unfillable data gap, fueling speculation that this was not maintenance, but a deliberate blackout.
Harmonic resonance.
What if the signal wasn't just a message, but, an activation key? The numbers 5, 8, and 13 might be more than just a sequence. They could correspond to frequencies. The concept of orbital resonance is actually a well-established principle in astrophysics. A prime example is the 1 to 2 to 4 resonance of Jupiter's moons Ganymede, Europa, and Io, which was studied by Pierre-Simon Laplace way back in the 18th century. Another example is the Kirkwood gaps in the asteroid belt, those empty regions caused by Jupiter's resonant gravitational pull. Modern celestial mechanics expert Renu Malhotra has even used these principles to predict the structure of the Kuiper belt. So, one interpretation of the 3I/Atlas signal is that it wasn't aimed at our eyes, but at the solar system itself. The pulses, with their precise timing, could have been designed to resonate with key gravitational zones, the 5th harmonic with Earth's orbit, the 8th with the asteroid belt, and the 13th with Jupiter's influence. This would be a form of communication that uses the very architecture of spacetime as its medium, transferring information through gravitational vibrations.
The Dante connection.
Could a 700-year-old poem hold a clue to an interstellar message? In the 14th century, the Italian poet Dante Alighieri wrote Paradiso. In it, he describes heaven as 9 concentric celestial spheres, with their structure governed by precise numerical and geometric principles. The year of Dante's death, 1321, is exactly 704 years before the 2025 event. Physicist and Dante scholar Mark A. Peterson published a famous paper in 1979, arguing that Dante's cosmos wasn't just concentric circles, but a hypersphere, the three-dimensional surface of a four-dimensional ball. The rhythm of ascent in Paradiso mirrors patterns of growth similar to the Fibonacci sequence. Now, this isn't to say Dante predicted the signal, but that the mathematical patterns of order and growth are so universal they appear in both our deepest artistic intuitions and in signals from the cosmos. The idea that an interstellar signal in 2025 would use the same sequence is, honestly, staggering. It raises the haunting possibility that this mathematical pattern is a universal signature of intelligent design, an archetype recognized across cultures, centuries, and perhaps even worlds.
Observatories respond.
After a week of intense public speculation, what did the scientists who saw it first have to say? The official statements from both the Cerro Tololo and Mount Abu observatories were masterpieces of scientific caution. They confirmed the data, captured starting at 2:41 UTC, was real. The timestamps were synchronized and the pulses were consistent across optical and near-infrared bands. But they refused to speculate on the origin. The event was labeled a non-repeating transient photometric anomaly. To a SETI researcher like Jill Tarter, this approach is standard procedure. However, their findings were published in low-profile technical bulletins, not major peer-reviewed journals like Nature or the Astrophysical Journal. This was a strategic choice. It places the data on the record for specialists without inviting a media frenzy. Contrast this with the 2016 announcement of the first detection of gravitational waves, which was a major, coordinated press event. The quiet, almost buried release of the 3IATLAS data made it clear that the institutions involved did not want to deal with the public implications of their discovery.
The missing data.
Sometimes, the most important clue is the evidence that isn't there. As researchers and the public scrambled for answers, all eyes turned to NASA, whose silence was deafening. The data from the Solar Dynamics Observatory for the entire period of the 3IATLAS event was missing from the public archives. This was a gap where 1.5 terabytes of crucial solar data should have been. There was no error note, just a void. Edward Tufte, a pioneer in data integrity, teaches that such omissions are often more revealing than the data itself. This silence wasn't limited to NASA. The European Space Agency's solar orbiter issued no comment, despite being in a perfect position to observe. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency JAXA also remained quiet. NASA has strict protocols for documenting data gaps from missions like the SDO. The complete absence of such documentation was a major breach of their own standards of transparency. This global information blackout became the smoking gun, transforming the narrative from a scientific puzzle into a potential cover-up. So, what are we left with? An interstellar object emits a structured light signal based on a universal mathematical constant. The event occurs on the anniversary of a famous celestial miracle. It's independently confirmed by 2 observatories, only for the world's leading space agencies to go conveniently blind at that exact moment. Was it an impossibly complex series of coincidences, a natural phenomenon beyond our current understanding, or was it exactly what it looked like? A message. A single, simple greeting written in the language of light and mathematics. We may never know for sure, but the silence from those who might have answers is the most unsettling part of all. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more deep dives into the universe's greatest mysteries. Thanks for watching Future Facts.